Combat Evolved is kind of an interesting game because they're sort of pioneering a lot of the tropes and techniques that would go to define a lot of later shooters. And you can sort of see that here, and this map is Battle Creek, and it seems pretty simple at first. It's got this two-base setup. That's not uncommon, but in the middle here, well, if I could just jump down there, it's just a straight shot between them. You know, there is really hardly any cover. There's this big thing that crosses there. It's just a short little walk. I mean, how many games today would spawn you looking almost directly at the enemy's base, you know? And this is kind of what I find appealing about the multiplayer maps in Halo CE, is just sort of their weird tendencies. They're little experimental things that usually don't quite work, but are still interesting and like in this map's case, popular enough that I still see it pop up is as like user-made recreations when I'm playing usually Source games for whatever reason. So this video is just going to be a little walk through some of the strange multiplayer maps, see what's weird or interesting about them. Yeah. This map here is called Sidewinder. It's got kind of a horseshoe shape between the two central bases, which you can see down over there. And this is where we've spawned here. This outcropping is actually kind of an interesting piece of it, because it's a very open map, as you can see. It's very focused towards vehicle units and sort of things. And as we'll see in a lot of these open maps do, they try and find a way to balance it between humans walking around without a car and the people in them. And one of the ways they've tried to do that here is with these sort of balconies, which are traversed through these teleporters over here. So they're meant that you can just kind of, instead of walking across that flap, which would be sort of hellish as just an individual, you can come teleport around onto these various little platforms, grab snipers or rocket launchers and shoot down at the people in the middle. And we'll make our way over to the base here. This is sort of the main base it's got. You come down here, and we'll see this on a lot of other maps as well, where they just sort of have like 10 vehicles sitting right outside your front main base. And many years ago, or maybe not many, but several years ago, Annie Austin did a video about these sorts of Halo maps. And he talks about how these aren't really naturalistic environments. They're more like sports arenas. And so these vehicles that are set out are like a part of that sport. They're the same on either side. They're in these very like starting position spots. They respawn very quickly. Yeah. But let me show you something in here real quick. Another way they tried to balance this map out was by giving a sort of a tunnel between the two bases. And right here we can find the flamethrower, kind of a one-off weapon from Halo 1. No, it shows up in 3, but it's very different in 3. But here you can see it spawns clipping in almost its first half into the wall there. But over here is something strange as well. They've got both power-ups that we saw before, but they're on either side of a wall. And I think the idea is you could sort of somewhat safely from your side spawn camp the power-ups and shoot through it to stop them from taking them, but also they could just walk up, grab this overshield, and then they're pretty much good, you know? Well, I guess you do have the pistol, which means you can kill them in just a couple hits. Let's grab a car for the last thing that's really interesting here. And here's another little oddity about this map. Is I think on the wiki I read that they added in these Banshees in later versions of the game. And so as you can see here, the skybox is not very high at all. And so it kind of has this feeling of like, what's the point of using this if you can't go any higher than 2 feet? You know, this isn't going to stop anyone from just shooting you down. So you can't even fly over this tree. This tree is so low. I guess the one advantage they have is you can sort of crash directly into their base. Oh, they won't be able to take... If you're playing capture the flags, then you won't be able to take the flag with you. Here we go. You can use the Banshee sort of clip into the walls and get a look at where the skybox ends. There we go. And see that, interestingly, the Halo rig actually peaks down just a little bit below, if you can see that, below the horizon line. Which is interesting. I thought it would all be sort of part of the same thing. And it looks like the planet there starts just above it. Oh wow, you can see the poppin' going crazy over there. Look at that. This is Damnation. And other than the screen here, it's going to be the first of one of our almost completely purple maps. I think there's at least 2 of these in the game, if I remember right. A lot of these maps were put together... oh, shit. Anyway, a lot of these maps are put together fairly quickly, and so a lot of them tend to have just one sort of color here. And I've just respawned next to the most notable thing about the map, and that's these 3 waterfalls here. Let's get some space. This is some of these maps have little bits of lore, right, behind them, and this one. Its lore is that it's like a Covenant water controlling system, something like that, like maybe a dam or something. But the problem with a lot of that, the little lore, is in universe, they're on the ring for like 3 days or something. So all the multiplayer maps that have lore of being some sort of base on the ring or something, it's a base that would have had to have been built within about 3 days. Let's see if we can jump through this. No. Oh, yeah. We just keep going. And where are we now? Back up top. There's another thing up here that's kind of interesting, and that's these sort of strange windows this map has. We can jump over to them, and you can just get a peek of the skybox. The static cloud image and this island that ends in a perfect line. Actually, is that just me, or is the island going past right there? Is it going past the water level, like on the horizon there just a little bit? I can't quite tell from where I'm sitting. I didn't realize this didn't have a roof over here. I thought the whole thing was enclosed. Look at that. This was actually going to be another sort of a trend we'll see. There's actually a number of kind of map tropes we'll see in this map. First is this sort of flood drip. A few maps have that. It's supposed to imply, I guess, they got taken over by the flood and evacuated, I think. Second is these sort of odd bits of mostly enclosed maps that just have sort of odd patches of no ceiling where you can see the sky. And the third is actually this down here of the broken bridge. There's a broken bridge or 2 in here. Kind of an interesting placement for the invisibility to be right next to the... I wonder if I fall on top of the shield, if that'll save me. No, it sure won't. This here is Rat Race. I think it's one of the ugliest maps. We're gonna see. There are a couple that are uglier just because they're all gray, but this one I think is just sort of ugly because of the design. I don't know, I just don't like it. But the interesting thing here is it's sort of a loop like this, but then in the middle here we have this sort of tunnel, and I like the tunnel. The tunnel's got a good kind of orangey vibe to it with this blurry dirt texture and everything. I enjoy the tunnel, and here's the really interesting thing about this map is where we can best see a little something with the power-ups. If I just come down below it, you'll see that if we shoot the power-ups, it'll actually activate physics on them. You see it bounce off that curve there? And we can shoot them while they're down too, and they'll spin. And that's actually true of health packs. It's not, I don't think it's true of grenades. No, we can move grenades by blowing them up with other grenades. That will trigger physics on them. And if we shoot that, they'll spin as well. And, I think that's really all there is that's interesting about Rat Race, although we can see it fall one more time. There aren't a lot of maps where you get to see the physics. Look at that, it bounces even. And I wonder if it has a different physics on the floor, because there it just spins, you know? And the way it spins isn't dictated by which side I'm shooting it on. Because if I shoot over here, on the left, it still seems to spin to the right. This map here is called Prisoner, and it's sort of most interesting for its verticality. I don't know, off the top of my head, I can't think of another level in Halo that is this like vertically focused. It has 1, 2, 3, at least 4 levels here to play on, with all these very open bridges and things. This is one of those levels in Combat Evolved that would be a lot better without the sort of the Magnum pistol. If you don't know, the Magnum pistol in this game can kill you in like 2 or 3 hits, and it's often the starter weapon in most game modes. And so on very open maps like this, you'll find yourself sort of being killed just about as soon as you spawn. Yeah, I also said on Damnation that we see a trope of weird holes and otherwise enclosed areas. Right there. And on the other side here, there's a hole on each side, just showing you a little bit of the ring. And I don't know, I kind of have to wonder, like, what's the point? You know? Like, why give me these tiny holes when it's otherwise all completely enclosed and gray? Although maybe you've noticed here, this map actually has something quite unique to it, which is this. This glass, which will actually just shatter immediately if you breathe on it. And there's another one over here. I wonder if I can just punch it. There it goes. Actually, if you noticed there, maybe I'll play it back in the edit for you real slowly. When I punched it, it seemed to change color from that blue to more of a clear pattern. It's kind of interesting. This map here is called Hang 'em High, and it really makes you wonder if they had any idea what they were doing at all when they were designing the maps for this game. It is almost completely open with these little pistols. That's not a fun time. It has these very open bridges, and down here, all across the ground, instead of designing like real interesting cover or anything, it just sort of has these tombstones, I think is what they get called. And it's just like, I don't know, this seems like the kind of thing that, like, I don't want to be mean, but this is the kind of thing that, like, me and my brother would have built in Forge when we were kids, you know? It feels sort of slapped together, I think, and it's all very gray. I think maybe this overwhelming grayness to it is why it has that feeling, because the Forge I'm thinking of is Reach, and Reach gives you all these pre-built assets that are also just completely gray and boring to look at. And the weird holes in the ceiling are something else in this map. They are like, what is the point of having a ceiling at this point where it is just like these 2 little bars with holes on either side and this big gap in the middle? The holes aren't even identical. I just noticed that the holes are totally different there. And there's that pillar for some reason. There are 2 sort of interesting spots on this map. One of them is, I think, is a sniper rifle placement right here, out in the open. You have to jump to it. I think by the time anyone got out here, they would just be killed with the starting pistol very, very kind of quickly and easily. And there are these little sort of enclosed environments here. You know, we have this little bits of hallway that is, it feels like they're almost underground in comparison to the rest of the map. But they're very just sort of gray. But we get to this. This is kind of an interesting spot because there isn't The map is mostly mirrored except for this hallway, where there are 2 shotguns and a window, and across the side, they just don't have anything of the sort. You know, this is sort of a bit of cover and resources that are just not available to, it looks like the red team over there. Instead, they have a flamethrower, which is probably one of the most useless weapons you could have on this map, although not that the shotgun's going to do you much good either. I think this could very well be the worst map in the game. I mean, there are maps that are definitely worse to play. We'll get to them much later, but they at least have something kind of interesting going on. Something experimental happening. This is just sort of a mistake. I don't know, maybe I'm being too mean to it. This map here is called Chill Out, and it's another one of the very purple maps, although I think this one is actually one of the best maps in CE gameplay-wise. The purple is a bit much, but we have this fog here that gives it a bit of character, a bit of a vibe. There's that broken bridge. I mentioned we were going to see those again. This time we get a piece of rubble on the floor, though. Gives you kind of an obstacle when you're walking around a little bit, but you can shoot right over it. Where does this go? These rooms. Oh, there's this sort of thing, or you get a window into a decorative room. You can't shoot this one. It's not bright blue like the other. I think I like this one. I love this little window here. It's what are you gonna do with this? I think I like this map because it's just so. It's very small. It's asymmetric. I think those qualities work well for sort of the style of gameplay in Combat Evolved. Open maps, I think, with the way the pistols work, just become kind of, you get killed as soon as you spawn a lot of the time, and so they're not very fun. But this, it's very small. It has a good loop to it. A lot of the symmetrical maps get very boring for me. I like things with a bit of novelty to them. And this has a lot of sort of weird spots you can hide, and this little bridge area. Let's get up there. Let's see if we can get up there. Right here. You can sort of jump across it, and if you don't do it just right, you'll fall down there. And then there's this. I don't understand this bit. This is just sort of a floating pillar right here. Nothing underneath it. It's being held up by these 2. Is this supposed to be like a crane or something? Are these blocks storage? It's called Chill Out, and so I assume it's like some sort of cold storage of these steel blocks. And I guess this one's being extracted through these windows. I'm just not sure. The low poly nature of these games leads to, you know, a level of abstraction which can sometimes be a little difficult to interpret. But that is also, I think, partially the charm, you know. This map, I just think it brings more of a vibe with it than a lot of the other ones. Especially that Hang 'em High. This map is called Derelict, and I have to tell you, I really hate this one. It is one of the more popular maps for some reason. It's just a symmetrical circle, very open. I think it's actively unfun to play on. Really, the only interesting thing about this map, I think, is just these windows. We get an opportunity to take a good look at the sort of the space skybox Bungie made, and we can see there's sort of this planet, this nebula. I think we can get a better look at the nebula over here. There aren't a lot of maps that use this space skybox. This skybox, I think, is also used in the first mission of the game on the UNSC. And there's another planet over there. Maybe it's a moon or something. There's also interestingly, there's no halo in this skybox. You know, we seem to be in orbit somewhere else. Although it is the same skybox used in any other space scene in the game, just the halo's missing. This map here is called Boarding Action, and to actually play on it, it is almost like comedically bad. It is not like a particularly enjoyable experience at all, but it's another one of these weird, very experimental maps. It is 2 mirrored spaceships here out in the sky, and I guess the idea is you'll sort of run around on either side doing maybe capture the flag or something while sniping each other. Now this is another map that I think would probably work better without the Magnum, just because of its overpowering nature when you don't have any cover. Because with the Magnum, there's really no reason to use like this sniper rifle over here, which should be, the dominating force on this whole map. But because of the Magnum and just the way the Magnum works in this game, it's really not. And also, it is very awkward to get around this map. It's just not particularly clear. Oh shit, that's 5 levels. I guess this does vertically beat that map earlier that I said that was the most vertical map. Which one was that? What did I say? That was Prisoner, wasn't it? I said that was the most vertical map, and I was blatantly, obviously wrong, because this map is here, and it's absolutely massive and way more vertical. Same, as you can tell, the same space skybox. This sort of brings together... It's a weird, interesting idea that doesn't work at all, but it's very kind of strange and fun to see. God. I put a 30-second respawn timer on this because I heard if you have it long enough, you can hit the bottom. There's a floor down here. There it is. There's the floor. That's kind of... You just have to have about 20 seconds of respawn time. Oh, and there go all the weapons. They're back. Huh. This map here is called Chiron, TL34, and it is another one of the worst maps in this game. Its whole gimmick is that it's just a bunch of tiny rooms with teleporters in between them, and it is confusing to navigate and just kind of a bad time to play, and I kind of love it for that. This is another idea which I think maybe there is something to this one. I think maybe a more talented map designer could really do something interested with it. This idea of just a bunch of tiny rooms sort of linked together. It leads, when you do play on it, it leads to some of the more interesting encounters in the game. I think the closer you are to other people in Halo games, the more interesting fights you have with them generally. And this is all about that. Maybe that's part of my way I like it, is because it's perpetuating my favorite type of fight in these multiplayer games. I also take this as a little bit of proof that all the other indoor maps in this game didn't have to just be purple or gray, because this has tan and reds and greens, and this is, all things considered, like a relatively colorful map, at least for the indoors. Oh, and there was one specific thing I wanted to show you. I just have to... This is the problem with this map, is it's impossible to navigate. So when I want to show you something, it's a little bit of guesswork, but I think I know where I'm going. It's actually back to the room we started in, right here. We can look in this and see this kind of interesting honeycomb light texture that's actually animated to sort of pulse. And I just thought that's kind of an interesting little touch. I don't think you really see this too many other places in the game, and they put it in, and I just think it's such a small detail most people would overlook, but I find it kind of compelling. All right, and here it is, Blood Gulch, quite possibly the most iconic map in Halo, I think largely due to Red versus Blue. It has such a great vibe. The colors they chose here, the orange, the blue, the green, they all just come together so well in like a way that feels like quite nostalgic. I was never old enough to play this game when it first came out. I was quite young, but it manages to create that sort of feeling, and maybe that is also partially Red versus Blue fault. But God, there's just something about the way it all comes together in its appearance. I think it's also that it's far enough away, it starts to generate a little bit of this fog back there. As you can see, it gets lighter, just a little bit. But there are two things here that I don't think anyone, you never really see people talk about. when they talk about Blood Gulch. So we're gonna go check them out. This tree kind of reminds me, I don't know if it is directly inspired by them, but these short warped trees they have on this map, they sort of remind me of those old, like couple 100-year-old, all like twisted and gnarled, very short trees. I don't remember where they're from. Some arid place, I think. But I wonder if that is what they're based on. Because they really are so reminiscent of that. Like, let's look at this one that we were just at over, and I ignored earlier. But this one, even more so, I think, because of the lower branches here. Like, it just... The thing that's like most compelling about those trees is that they look completely dead. They look like lifeless, rotting things. And then you find out they're actually thriving and hundreds of years old. And it's just sort of an interesting contrast, I suppose. Let's see if I can get on top of it. Or at least on top of a branch. Oh, okay, I can get on top of a branch at least. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to show you isn't a place most people tend to go on this map. It's over here in this sort of creepy cave. You know, it has these glowing bits of moss or something, but it's such an interesting little bit in comparison to the rest of the map. You know, there's the overshield, just this such an open map with this little creepy thing that they decided to put in there. You know, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the open maps will try and have ways to balance out between the people on foot and the people in cars. I think part of what's appealing about Blood Gulch is it doesn't really bother. It wants you in the cars, and it does not have any interest in you really walking around, except for these tiny caves. They're almost like just a little way to escape if you're lucky. And even then, you can still get a car up in there if you try. You know? This map is Wizard, and in layout it's quite similar to Derelict. I have similar feelings to it, but I do actually like it better than Derelict. I think the reason there is just because the second floor is so much more accessible. On Derelict, you're kind of on one or the other, but here there's such a nice flow between the two that this sort of works better as a circular symmetrical map. It also has it's not just like ugly and gray like Derelict. It's got this tan and these sort of, it brings back the awkward ceiling holes. But other than that, like, I'm still just not the biggest fan of these kinds of maps. Although I think this one definitely plays better than Derelict. This map here is called Longest, and basically the idea is just like, what if there was 2 hallways? Which it's not a particularly interesting map design, but if we were to say there were 3 hallways and spread them out a little wider away from each other, then you would basically just have a design of like a lot of modern shooters where they have, you know, your 2 bases and 3 hallways and things. And occasionally there's just a little area where you can cross between the hallways. You know, it feels, I don't know, a little bit like a predecessor in that way. I don't know. Maybe not. It is just 2 hallways. I think I'm probably reading into it a bit much. But also up here, we have another case of having a little window between the power-ups where you can, I guess, shoot the other person going for it. I don't know. This here is Death Island, which is kind of like a multiplayer version of one of my favorite levels from the campaign, The Silent Cartographer, where you're just given this island to sort of drive around, and we'll see if we can get a Banshee, because this is a map that's actually good for those. It also never ever shows up in multiplayer, at least in my experience. A lot of these we're gonna get to like maybe the last third of these maps now, and a lot of these last third just never show up in multiplayer. They're all kind of larger open areas. Now this is a map where the Banshee's actually useful. You can go much higher. Look at that. Isn't that great? You know, this map, it feels like it's really meant for sort of big team battles, even though big team battles weren't, I don't believe, in Combat Evolved. Combat Evolved maxed out at, I think, 8v8. But it's absolutely massive, definitely focused on car combat and things. It uses these sort of, a lot of maps do this, where they use these sort of prefab structures, like this one. This one, I think, shows up in the actual campaign itself, because you can walk back there into... Oh yeah, the interior is very similar, if not exactly the same, except for these portals as in the campaign. In the campaign, I think there's a hallway down there. Here we go. Let's take this ghost. In the Silent Cartographer, one of the interesting things you can do in that level is just, instead of going around the island, just turn out to the ocean and go way, way out. And the game will just let you go for absolutely ages. And this one, this goes on the water. I didn't realize that. You can't go as far as you can in the campaign mission. You can still go out very far for a multiplayer map. Like, imagine just coming out here with like a sniper rifle or something. I don't think it'll kill you if you go on the water. No. Look at that. So you can come out and get a nice view as well. God, look at these clouds. Are these clouds actually moving? I think they are. Oh. Yeah. That's interesting. I had thought those were sort of a static piece of the skybox, but at the very least it's got something of an animation, I guess. This map, I think it has like a similar vibe to like that old Windows like default wallpaper. The one with just like the hill with the sky in the background. Like, look at that. Oh my god, look at this. Look at that view. You can't get views like this on most maps. Although most maps also don't have to employ an invisible wall way out in the sea like this one does. I am all about the vibe here. I would hang out and live on this island if that was an option. Maybe in a more comfortable house than that giant concrete obelisk, but you know. This is Danger Canyon. It's another one of these sort of maps that's kind of like an open corridor. It's got like a big hallway for your cars here to go through the canyon, past this sort of bridge here, and then it's sort of like a ring or another horseshoe map, I guess. Wow, I fucked that up. Oh my god. Because if we go around here, we'll find the red base just on the other side of that canyon wall from where the blue was. Right? And like this one, it has a car focus, but most of the fighting I don't think really ends up happening on these cars, because if we go over here, we see this little hole, right? And we get this kind of indoor area back in all the grays and things. Oh, this one has some lights at least. And then in here, we get this sort of area. And the blues come in from the other side there. And then you come out here. And there's two little doors here. There's one right here that comes out to like another balcony where you can shoot down at the passing vehicles and things. I think this is also a result of them trying to like balance between cars and people, but in this one I think it actually favors the people more, just because this is the most effective way to get to the other player's base, is to go through the tunnels, not really to go out in the more exposed area with the vehicles. Then we get this sort of central area where you have to cross these. I'm not sure why you would cross these. There is a power-up right there, but it doesn't seem worth the risk of just getting picked off out in the open like this, you know? So you come down here, it just sends you back down here in the center. I don't even have a way back up there. It's not going to be the first map to do this idea of like a vehicle area with bridges for pedestrians going over it. We're going to see at least one more of those coming up. But this is probably the I don't know, maybe least interesting execution of it. I mean, you'll see what I mean in a bit. And this here map is called Infinity because it is laid out in the shape of like an infinity sign. So, yeah, it is, I think, most often used for like racing because you can go in that infinity shape. We'll do a loop of it here. It's another one which is basically just like a canyon corridor, just like that last one. Except I think we'll see a more interesting version of the bridges right here. You see this? Okay. If I don't crash, you'll see it. Here, we'll do this jump and then we'll take a look at the bridges here. There we go. See, these bridges, they are actually useful here, because the last time they got you between that power-up and the bases here, they teleport on either side. They help you cross between the two bases if you don't want to drive around in the loop with your car. And over here, if we follow the racetrack, we get to go these narrow little caves. On a race map where there's a bunch of people on it, you could probably just stop here and block everyone and really, really piss some people off. And over here we get to the red base. And oh, there is a little detail about this map here. If we come on up to here, we can jump into the laser right here, and sooner or later, oh wow, look at that, it goes right up to the ring. Oh, there it is. It'll kill us. You can get shot by your own base if you're messing around. And let's take a portal. And we'll get up on those bridges. So I think this is sort of maybe a better execution of what Danger Canyon was going for with the bridge thing. Because here there's actually, I suppose, a reason to use them. This is the shortest way between bases, and so it's kind of fitting that it would be the most dangerous, it seems to me. All these upper bridges, I don't know if there's much of a reason to use them unless you're going for that turret, but I don't know how helpful those turrets are, really. Oh, that looks like a very long ladder. Here, let's go through here. And now we're over at the blue base, see? Oh, you still have to cross a very open area to get over there. There goes the cannon. I would just... Oh, it's back. That's weird. Look at that. Huh. This map here is called Timberland. A lot of Halo is based around trying to do this sort of like Pacific Northwest vibe, but in space. And I think this is the one that really leans into that the most, with just the frequency of the trees and everything. And I think the skybox is a little bit of a darker blue here. Maybe I'm just seeing things. Oh my god, look at those clouds. Anyway, this is also just such a hilly map, which I really like. Like, you are constantly going up and down these sorts of things. You can never see, you can't see if there's like a car just 5 feet away from you on the other side of a hill. And I just think it's very fun, you know, like coming over this hill and with a car packed full of people and jumping into their base. You know, there's something fun about that. It's fun, it's surprising, and you know, it just makes for a good time. And if we look around here, maybe you've noticed it already. I think this is, I could be wrong here, I think this is the only map without teleporters. And I honestly think that makes it better. The teleporters are always kind of an awkward element on those maps, and it would usually just be better replaced with some kind of like tunnel or something. Oh, this right here. Look at this. This is a waterfall. I love the placement of the invisibility here, right in all the like kicked up steam or water from the falls. Just go in and grab it. To kind of awkwardly jump over the rocks. It's a wonderful little view just put in here, I think. Look at that. Oh my god. This just, like I was saying, it just captures that vibe of the PNW. Better than I think the others do. Look at that. This map's just pretty, man. Alright, this here is Ice Fields, and it's another one of these maps that does the whole cars drive under a bridge thing. Oh, this one, instead of being like two narrow bridges, is, you're going to see it up here, one big bridge. This one also has a remake in a later game. It's got a nice snow vibe. I think I prefer the snow vibes here to the other snowy map we looked at, just because of the trees. It brings in like a slightly desaturated tree. Like it doesn't really have snow on the leaves, but that little bit of desaturation, it just makes a difference to me. Okay, right up here is where we're going to see something kind of aesthetically interesting. And that is kind of this reflective shine on the ice cave that changes as we drive through it. You can see it kind of moves with where the camera's positioned and where the ghost is positioned. I just think that's another kind of interesting, sort of effective little bit. I wonder if my flashlight affects it. No, it looks like just the standard flashlight overlay. But right here, I wish they made the bridge be a darker color, because I think when you're coming through here, you could have this really cool view, and instead it just sort of it all blends together. Too much gray. That's my criticism of a lot of these maps. This map here, it has a weird name. It's pronounced, I don't know how it's pronounced, but I think it goes like Jeffreyphobia, maybe? I don't know. Supposedly means like fear of bridges and things, which is, this map is just one big bridge over like a bottomless chasm. So we can just go down here and find out. It's like an upper floor and underfloor bridge. Maybe I shouldn't have jumped off as I was trying to explain it to you. I think this map is also terrible. It's very open and based on these sort of vehicles, but there isn't really enough room to use them. It's very easy to just go off the side in your vehicle. I mean, with ghosts, the walls don't even try to stop you. You know? Then hopefully we'll respawn somewhere where I can show you kind of the weirdest bit of this map. No, I didn't. Oh, I kind of did. We go up through this hallway here. Another sort of just boring gray hallway. I suppose it's a necessary evil, maybe. We come to these sort of rooms. And this sort of room, I've had some interesting fights in these, doing like capture the flag and stuff. But then we take a portal here. And now we're on these sort of long ledges. They're so long and empty. It's terrible to like walk down. There's no sort of vehicle for it. But like, oh my god. And like, I suppose it's meant to like snipe down at them. Like this like a lot of maps, we saw them doing this thing of having a vehicle area and then up a ledge where you can shoot down at the vehicles. But this was really taking it to its sort of its extreme. Maybe a little too extreme, I think. This is another one of those kind of terrible to play, but interestingly experimental ones. Here's the sniper rifle. Yeah. Even here, you're not that close on them. But we can also fly quite high here and we can get up on top of the bridge's little like middle tower and park right next to this health pack. You'd think it's a good sniper spot, but it's also completely open, you know, so I don't know how useful it really is. And then I wonder if we can get down on like one of these. Oh, there's the over armor. There we go. How much just went off? I guess you can snipe from here. Maybe this is a little better. At least you can't be hit from as much of the sides anymore. Although you have less of an angle on it. Yeah. I don't know. This is actually the last map we're looking at, and it's kind of a bummer. This one, I think it's quite bad. God. Whoa. Goodbye. Thanks for coming on my little tour, I guess.